people who are talking about privatizing air traffic controllers. President and CEO of the National Business Aviation Association, Edward Bolen, joins us to talk about privatizing air traffic controllers. Good morning, Edward.
Hi, how are you?
So how big of an issue is this?
Well, it's a very big issue with a lot at stake, particularly for those communities all over the United States that rely on general aviation to have local companies access the air transportation system. So this is a big issue. I think it may be mislabeled, however, when you talk about privatization, because typically when you think about privatization, you talk about something where there is competition, there's innovation, and that's not really what we're talking about when we talk about privatizing the air traffic control system. Our air traffic control system is a monopoly, and it will always be a monopoly. So the question on the table is, who's going to oversee the monopoly and make sure it serves all Americans? For the past several years, the airlines have been pushing to effectively take over control of the air traffic system. And our concern is they will run the monopoly for their self-interest, not the good of all Americans.
All right, back up a second, because first of all, many questions. First, let's start with, why do the airlines want to privatize? What would they do if they were allowed to sort of regulate the air traffic controllers?
Well, I think they would operate the system for their airline self-interest. They are asking for control over the taxes that fund the air traffic control system. They're looking for the assets themselves and to have operational authority over that. It's a sweeping takeover of the system that the Congressional Research Service recently said was likely unconstitutional, and the Congressional Budget Office said would cost the American taxpayers over $100 billion. So it is a significant effort by the airlines to effectively seize control of the system from the general public.
Why would it cost more?
Well, it gets into giving away assets that the American taxpayers have already paid for. So they're going to effectively get billions of dollars in assets for free, and then of course the government is going to lose the tax revenues that have funded the system, because we would be giving taxing authority over to this private entity.
But I mean, would it be as nefarious as American Airlines would make sure their plane arrives on time, but the smaller airplane or airline doesn't arrive on time?
Well, they could conceivably come up with operational ways to make sure that their airplanes do get priority, or operations at one airfield advantages another one. So, we've seen airlines demonstrate anti-competitive behavior in a number of places. They establish what are called fortress hubs. They have a history of hoarding gates. They've been subject to predatory pricing issues. We've seen recently that there are a lot of computer crashes from the airlines. They've been in and out of bankruptcy. Customer service is an issue. So for a lot of reasons, we're not sure trusting our future to a cartel of private interest is in the best interest of our national airspace system.
Edward, have there been other countries that have privatized the air traffic controllers?
There have been other countries that have done that. The results we find are troubling. In the United Kingdom, for example, the privatized system in an economic downturn came running back to the government looking for a massive bailout. In Canada, where it has been tried, when the economy crashed, the taxes actually went up, making it more difficult for operators. So it is something where, as we've seen in other countries, it creates a lot of confusion for a period of 5 to 7 years, and then the results are mixed at best.
We hear that the air traffic control system is antiquated, right? It was designed in the 40s and the 50s. We're now in a 21st century world that we need a massive influx of capital to revitalize, reinvent, rethink the world today with air traffic. Does that help or hurt if you privatize this?
The Government Accountability Office has said it really has no influence. But I think, the concern that we have is today The U.S. has the largest, the safest, the most efficient, and the most diverse air transportation system in the world. And so we have the best system in the world. We are on time and on budget over the last 5 years as we modernize with a project called NextGen. All of that is working, and now we're entertaining the idea that we'll give this over to the airlines, which have a long history of computer crashes, not investing in technology. In fact, one of the reasons we're not going faster on our modernization program is because the airlines are far behind in equipping their airplanes and training their pilots. That's really the pacing item for how quickly we can modernize. So I don't see that there is any connection between privatizing and modernizing the system.
How would this work? Does this have to pass Congress and signed by the president? Is it a regulatory issue? How does this work?
No, this has to pass Congress. It's currently it's been introduced in the House of Representatives and may go to the full House of Representatives for a vote. In the Senate, they have a separate FAA bill. They are not intentionally have not gone down this path. So it's a divisive issue on Capitol Hill, but one that legislation has been introduced and is being pushed very hard, as you would expect, by the big airlines and their allies.
Does this have anything to do, they're talking about here in St. Louis, at least beginning the steps to talk about privatizing the airport. Does this have anything to do with privatizing the airport?
No, it's really a separate issue from that. This is something that's really more focused on the air traffic control system, not the airports itself.
Right, so they're two separate issues.
That's right.
Yeah. Edward Bolen, President and CEO of the National Business Aviation Association. Do you have a website to find out more about this?
Yes, there is a website, ATC, Air Traffic Control, atcnotforsale.com.
All right, good. Edward Bolen, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
You
Bye-bye.
got it.